Good afternoon. Welcome to NYNJPA Weather. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and we have a lot to talk about this afternoon with a major rainstorm impacting the northern mid-Atlantic by Friday morning and a little bit of interior snow as well. Let's take a look at the forecast. This is a current surface map as of 2 p.m. and you can see high pressure is pretty much in control throughout much of the northern mid-Atlantic back through the Great Lakes. Now the key feature here is the high pressure system that is off of the East Coast. That high pressure system will eventually become the dominant high pressure system, and that means that the cold air relatively to this time of year where temperatures are in the 40s and 50s is going to lose its support and give way, and that's very important for the upcoming forecast. Meanwhile, an area of low pressure is rapidly developing over the Gulf Coast and Southeast. We're going to deal with two waves of low pressure over the next 48 hours that will produce a variety of weather impacts throughout the northern mid-Atlantic. Before we get to the forecast, I just wanted to show the 500 millibar observations from this morning at around 8 a.m. And the reason why is because I've been explaining for days now, while others have been hyping up major winter storms along the East Coast, that we're moving to a positive NAO pattern, and we have a very powerful Pacific jet. And that usually translates to rainstorms because cold air cannot remain in place over the coastal plain. So what do we see this morning? Our upper level low is moving towards Greenland, and that means we are developing a strongly positive NAO pattern, which basically means that the Atlantic is very progressive, and that high pressure systems that would normally try to set up over the St. Lawrence River Valley can't, because there's no convergence and confluence aloft. Meanwhile, our powerful Pacific jet is well developed. That's 100-knot winds. That's pretty impressive. And that's going to steamroll right through the west coast and into the plains. And that basically means that there are going to be plenty of disturbances driving through North America, which is going to keep this pattern very progressive. This is the 500 millibar forecast via the European model guidance for tomorrow morning. You can see we have one disturbance moving through the Great Lakes. We have another one, that's our major storm over the Mississippi River Valley. A third one, that's a disturbance for Saturday that is moving through the northern plains. And a fourth disturbance that is going to move into British Columbia, and that will be a rather strong low pressure system for early next week. Don't worry, that one's going to be rain. I'll get to that one in a moment. But you can see the point here that we're dealing with a very progressive pattern. These disturbances will not be able to sit, develop, bomb out, pull cold air to the coast. Instead, they have to develop rather quickly and exit out into the Atlantic. And as a result, you really can't get a pattern set up where you could produce heavy snowfall along the coast. Over the interior, especially in higher elevations, different story. You don't need as many dynamics to set up a heavy snowfall. But in this case, along the coast for the major metropolitan area, this pattern clearly is not supportive of any major snowfall. So tomorrow morning, our one low pressure system is exiting out into the Atlantic. I do have a forecast of some rain and snow showers over the interior. I think I'm going to mix that more rain as the temperatures really look marginal for this setup for tomorrow morning. I don't expect much of accumulation at all except for the highest elevations. Meanwhile, our second low is rapidly developing over Georgia tomorrow morning, and that is going to make a beeline towards the benchmark, which is about 40 north, 70 west, and that's going to bring a rather impressive rainstorm to much of the coastal plain and very heavy snow over the highest elevations. This is the Canadian model guidance, which is pretty much similar to all the other models. This is at about 1 a.m., and what I want to show here is that this black line is the freezing line at 850 millibars. Now remember, we have to be down to -6 degrees Celsius for accumulating snowfall at the surface this time of year. As you can see, we are well above freezing at 850 millibars. It's clearly an all-rain event. As you move into the interior, if you're below 500 feet, most likely you'll get a rain-snow mix, not much in the way of accumulation until some colder air works in behind the storm. And then as you move up higher in elevation, the air is a bit colder, so you have a better chance of a heavy wet snowfall. And snow ratios with this type of setup will likely be anywhere from 10 to 1 to 8 to 1. So we're not really looking at a situation where you're going to get a lot of snowfall out of the precipitation because the ratios are rather low. By 8 a.m. on Friday morning, you can see the cold air starting to rush to the coast. But again, this is not really that cold of air. And if you're thinking, oh look, it's going to change over to snow along New York City, well, let's look at 700 millibars. At 700 millibars, you can see dry air driving up the coast. This is typical of an extratropical storm. This is why you have to look at every level of the atmosphere when you're forecasting for these type of storms, because what we're clearly seeing here is that dry air is racing up the coast behind this storm, which is typical of an intense low pressure system, which means that precipitation is going to be cutting off very, very quickly. So as a result, any rain that changes over to snow will end rapidly. I don't expect anything like that over New York City or Philadelphia or the New Jersey coast. Over the interior, just northwest of the cities, you could see a little bit of light snow, which is why I have some minor accumulations on grassy surfaces. And at the surface, you can see our area low pressure is very intense. It's moving rapidly northeast and will move off of the New England coastal waters roughly by Thursday afternoon. So this is clearly a fast-moving low pressure system. So here's the forecast, which has been pretty consistent since about Saturday. Along the coast, heavy rain, up to 2 inches of rain possible with this storm. The main impact here is going to be the strong winds, anywhere from 15 to 30 miles per hour with gusts over 40 miles per hour. The heaviest rain will be from 3 a.m. on Friday morning to about 9 a.m. on Friday morning, and then the rain starts to end from southwest to northeast with clearing conditions by the afternoon hours. Further north and west, again over interior Connecticut, looking for 1 to 3 inches of snow below 500 feet. For the most part, that's going to be on grassy surfaces and cold surfaces, not much of accumulation on the roadways. Then we get to some interesting situations with the interior, especially the higher elevations. From 500 to 1,000 feet, I'm looking anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow. This is going to be a very wet snow, and it's going to have a difficult time accumulating on the roadways, but there will be some accumulation possible. As you move from 1,000 to 1,500 feet, looking anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of snow. Again, because you're higher up in elevation, colder temperatures, so there's going to be a better accumulation on the roadways and all other surfaces. There's going to be a heavy wet snow, so watch out for some power outages on some of these power lines. And then well up around over 1,500 feet, that's where you can really get some impressive accumulations, where you're going to get some enhancement of very cold air well up aloft that will support higher ratios of snow. So you're looking anywhere from 8 to 12 inches, locally higher amounts in some strong bands of snow. But for the most part, that's going to be well up where the ski resorts are and where not too many people really are situated. So I think the worst of this storm is going to be for the highest elevations. And for the most part, most of these locations will be done with precipitation by Friday afternoon. And in New York City metropolitan area, for those of you going to the Yankee game, and should I say the Philly game on Friday afternoon, I'm only expecting some scattered showers at the very start of the game. In clearing conditions, your main impact is going to be those winds, which may have an uncomfortable environment if you're out there with gusty winds and temperatures in the upper 40s. With this storm exiting, we have one more disturbance on Saturday morning that could produce a few rain and snow showers, nothing major. It's out of there by around 9-10 a.m. on Saturday, and the rest of the weekend is looking excellent with high pressure, clear skies, light winds, and temperatures rebounding to near normal. And then we really warm up. By Tuesday morning, a warm front drives through the northern Mid-Atlantic. Temperatures skyrocket into the 60s behind this warm front. And then by Wednesday morning, we're looking at another cold front moving through, and this one could actually produce some severe thunderstorms. And the reason why is because 850 millibar temperatures are skyrocketing above 10 degrees Celsius. This is a very warm, unstable atmosphere. Do not be surprised if you're seeing 60s and lower 70s ahead of this cold front. And at 500 millibars, we have strong PVA driving towards the coast. That's a lot of lifting, and that's going to support the threat for strong to severe thunderstorms on Wednesday afternoon. Something we're going to have to keep an eye on. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the northern Mid-Atlantic without the hype. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent evening.